and this week we're talking about digital marketing and the trends in 2024. We're also kind of referencing what went on in 2023 and what we think is going to happen and what happened last year. I think I don't know, we're making estimates of what's going to happen, predictions, and trying to figure out what happened. But I'm curious, Tom. You mentioned something that kind of blew my mind. I thought I had this perfect definition of the digital versus not digital versus defining it by tangible. But cold calling, that's you're saying that's not digital marketing, but cold calling it's not tangible either. You can't reach out and touch it.
Well, I wasn't necessarily limiting it to tangible. What I was trying to do was saying that we have these methods to reach out to people, to
Mm-hmm.
solicit people, solicit business. And so if you compare it to print marketing, for example, they're
Right.
very different and they have different formats and different layouts and different design techniques, all that good stuff that comes with it. But I was also noting that we have email, which is more like the old direct mail. Put a stamp on a postcard or a letter and send it out. And people hold it in their hands and they put it in the shredder and all that good stuff. Um, but then I was thinking about the other forms of communication, which compare most commonly to a cold call, which is a direct outreach by DM or something like that. That would
Mm-hmm.
be similar to, in many cases, a cold call, or as they say, a warm call or a hot lead, or depending on your level of know, like, and trust, the three levels of building a sales relationship. And so, but yeah, I was just drawing the parallels because when you asked to define digital marketing, I kind of tripped because it was like, well, it's different things. it's
Depends on
how
what
do
you're
you
defining.
yeah, it depends on what you're comparing it to, was the point I was
Right.
making. So
Right.
that was really only the point, not necessarily tangible like print, but simply different in the way that we used to do things. In essence, we're doing the exact same thing. We're
Right.
just doing it on a different mode. And that's okay. You can still send direct mail. You can
Mm.
still do cold calling. You can still do those things. But every type of marketing has its pluses and minuses.
Well, I use on my little answer there. I thought, well, hey, here's the answer. It's about tangible. Can you touch it? Then it's not digital. So when you sent that out, I thought, okay, Deb, your definition, forget that. Your your definition is wrong.
But
But
it's
it just
that's not
depends
wrong.
on what you're talking about, because in
Exactly.
the lists that you have, it's like these are methods of communication. So I would say email is kind of digital marketing, but then it depends on what you're talking about. You're talking about communication methods. So it's almost like I'm picturing an infographic, and that's a whole nother. Well, that would come under digital marketing, but it really depends on what you're talking about and how you're classifying. That's why you have different classification methods in life. As far as, are you classifying these people by gender? Are you classifying these people by age? Are you classifying? And no, we're not talking about marketing. I'm just saying classification process. But
Where's Linnaeus when you need him? And maybe one person gets that reference.
I hadn't
he
even I.
created the biological system of kingdom, phylum,
Mm-hmm.
order, family, genus, species.
How long do you have any idea how long it took him to? Because that is fascinating when you think about what he did as far as coming up with that.
I never looked into his timeline on doing that, but if he's anything like me, he started thinking about it 20 years before he published anything. That's
Because
pretty much.
it's not like, I mean, to us now it makes sense because obviously we, hindsight, and we can look at what he's done, but it's not like you sit down and go, oh, I've got this all figured out. Now I'm going to have it tomorrow. On a Saturday, it's like, yep, I've got it. Now I'm just going to sit down. Unless, like you said, he's thought about it for 20 years. But I mean, it's very well done as far as
That's worth
thought
two or
out.
3 years.
Yeah. Um, yeah. Wow. I was just thinking, I used to play with the little, I know this is really, really off topic, but I can't remember what they're called, but I was fascinated as a kid, but these little cards you get in the mail, you get like 5 cards that were mammals, and you get 5 cards that were bugs, and five and lay them out. And it was my way of figuring out, which I want to say critters, but I don't know if you call bugs critters. I think of critters
Really?
as mammals, but I mean, you'd figure out who is in what classification, and then they go in the little green plastic thing and file them. And it was my way of learning the system. So
That
it
works.
was, it works. So it was, yeah. So I got to. I don't think I collected all the cards. I think my parents got tired of paying for for it every month. But
I need
I,
those to ID trees.
pardon me.
I said I could use some of those to ID trees.
Oh, that
You
would
can,
be great.
you can do it on the
Yeah,
phone now.
I don't use smartphones. Yes, you're
I'm,
right. There is an app that you can point at anything and it tries to ID it, and it's mostly right.
I have a plant over there that I keep trying to kill, and it keeps trying to die. And I've often thought an app like that would probably keep me from trying to kill it. It could die on its own if it chose to. But
you keep trying to kill the plant. Is that what you said?
well, obviously, it keeps trying to die, so it must be my fault. I mean, I was married long enough to know things are always my fault. It was just why. Um, but yeah, I have that one. I just had to trim it back today because it was growing and it got new leaves and it was looking good. And I had it on a little trellis and everything turned yellow. I was like, what in the world? So, but since I have one plant, I didn't see the need to invest in an entire program that would tell me every plant on earth.
Ah, it can't connect to something on the web that just accesses.
I've looked it up, but you know, everybody has a different opinion. What happened to science?
It's still out there somewhere.
Uh,
So, Gail, any thoughts on digital marketing?
Well, I don't know that we originally called it that.
Hmm.
I think that probably came later.
What did
You
we
know,
call it?
I don't know.
Internet
Well,
marketing?
there's email marketing, pay per click marketing, SEO, right?
Hmm.
I don't know if the umbrella term for digital marketing came right away or not. What do you think, Tom? Did it?
that was not part of my world at all. Even when I started my business, I shied away from all of that and went solely with the word of mouth marketing. And it's only been recently that I've even gotten into what I call traditional marketing. And oh my God, is there so much to learn?
You mean online or offline traditional marketing?
Either, either. I just never
Yeah.
messed with it. I would go speak at conferences. I'd meet people. I'd shake hands. They'd hire me. I'd go work for them. They'd send me a check, and then I'd go to another conference and speak. And, it was all word of mouth. But I've had to change that.
Why?
Well, after COVID, somebody warned me early in my business career, my solopreneur career, and they said word of mouth marketing is great. It's wonderful, and it can work beautifully for you. They said, but be very careful. You're going to wake up one morning, and all of your champions and all of your companies that you have, all your clients are going to be dead or retired.
Oh,
And sure enough, that's pretty much what's happened, particularly post COVID. A lot of people
ah,
retired, a lot of people died for that matter. And so I'm trying to rebuild my entire network from scratch, which essentially I had 20 years invested in building that network before it collapsed on me. And so I've had a coach, and I've been sending emails, and I've been adding links on LinkedIn, and I've been doing all of these classic things. And a couple of things he's asked me to do, and I said I'm not going to do that. I won't send that kind of an email. Somebody sends me that email, I block them instantly.
yeah.
That's how I
That's
feel about
good.
some of those.
That's good. I see these people that are recommending, like I see this on Facebook more recently. Send this to all your friends. No, don't do that. Please don't do that. And I understand, and it's always some little tiny small business that has some niche thing that almost none of your friends will be interested in. I just think that that's a bad idea. I mean, now if you only have really close friends, maybe they'll forgive you, but it's just not a good idea. Or it's like the lead gen people on Twitter or LinkedIn. I'm like, Do I look like I want to hire you? No. Do I look rich to you and I need a lead gen person? No. Right. And so, or the VA people, they're the same way. You need me. I'm a great VA. Well, if you're a great VA, why aren't you busy already? Maybe I shouldn't say that, but seriously, if you're a really good VA, you have a lot of demand. They're really great VAs are not that easy to come by. So why aren't you cold prospecting?
Mhm.
Right? Let the people that you're working with know, and they probably introduce you to someone else. If I were to start out like the issue that Tom has, I would try to plug into existing groups where somebody you are, somebody that knows you that would recommend you is already in this group. And you can like plug in there. And even though you haven't been there all along, you're like accepted as one of the, people. I think that's the shortcut to trying to start from scratch.
No, I agree with you. And I was commenting to somebody just today along those same lines that all of the digital marketing I'm doing, I have a weekly email. I post 2 polls on LinkedIn every week. I've played the game, if you will. I've gotten involved. I've done what I was told to do. And truthfully, the net result is zilch. Just nothing has come out of those things. And I was talking to an old friend who is about to retire, and we were talking about how I'd had 24 separate articles published in Contract Management magazine back when
Congratulations.
people
That's
read the
good.
magazines.
Right.
Uh, these days that doesn't mean a lot to people, and I haven't published much at all in the past 5 to 7 years.
But is there an electronic equivalent though that you could publish it?
Well, that's what we were talking about. He
Oh,
now is the I don't know what they call it, editor. He's the chief honcho for the Contract Management Journal, and this is a publication we used to have out there. It's for more. It's bigger than articles for the magazine, but it's not really a law journal, with 2,000 citations.
It's like in between.
Yeah, it's for
Okay.
contract managers, not
Hmm.
lawyers necessarily. And talking about thinking about things for 20 years, I told him about an article that I had started in response to a question I'd gotten in a class, and that I'd had to dig through my files, and I couldn't remember when I last touched it, and it had been a while, and it just kind of floated in my head all this time, but I never wrote the article. I found my original notes from 2007. I found the most recent draft from 2012, and he wants me to finish it now and submit it because he needs articles for the next issue. But the point being that all of my word of mouth marketing techniques that I used before really haven't gone away. It's just my network that kind of went away. And one way to rebuild that is to get back into the publishing of the articles or journal articles or whatever those kind of things might be. Meanwhile, I stay active on the social platforms, which I do consider digital marketing, to the degree any of them finally bear fruit.
I don't think you're alone on all this either, because even 20 years ago, if I needed some money, I just went out there, I advertised, I did some SEO stuff, and it's like, how much money do I need? Okay, and I would go do this amount of work, and the next day I would have the money in my bank. I would be able to make the money pretty easily. Well, it was back when we were a hosting company and domain registration service provider. And even when I was doing more writing back, 8 years ago, I could turn a profit, write a $600 article and have money in the bank. And it has just been really dry the last 4 years or so.
Agreed.
yeah.
So,
Actually, the peak was 2016, 2017.
yep,
We
yep,
had all the work we could do, and
yep.
we were adding collaborators, and we were up to about 100 people in our collaboration
Mhm.
because there was so much work that like we would give work to each other all the time. Like Christy Hines once got something that was kind of more small businessy than she normally would do. And she said, "Hey, do you want to handle this?" And then, like, if something came in that was more technical than what I wanted to do, I would refer it her way. And we had like a whole network. Like most of the writers I know because someone wanted me to do something I didn't want to do, and I recommended other writers for it. Like they'd say, "We want you to do this," and it didn't pay very much, and I'd say, "Well, that's below what I would normally work for." However, I can recommend Holly Chavez, who writes in a similar style to me.
Mm-hmm.
right? And so I would refer the work to Holly, and there was somebody else that wrote similar to me that I used to refer work to. And so, and there were a whole bunch of people I referred to that, like Sherry Gray, who writes totally different than me. And so sites either tend to love or hate a style of a particular writer, right? Like we had one writer that we all hated her style, but this one giant site loved her. And we had a hard time keeping her from putting f bombs in client writing. Couldn't quite comprehend why we had a problem with that. Well, that
She
wasn't the
could.
word. The f bomb followed by the word boy was one of her favorite words, and we're like, no, you cannot. What? We're like, no, not appropriate. Cannot do that. And she's like, I don't understand what the problem is. I'm like, yeah, that's the problem. You don't
That
understand what the problem is.
I'm trying to think who that was. I don't.
Erica.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Sometimes I have enough of those little events that I had earlier last
Yeah.
month, and it puts like Swiss cheese in my brain.
Well, we didn't work with her that much. She did that one big site, and it wasn't a business site. It was more of a lifestyle type site.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And so things were very different there because apparently her editor loved that stuff. We're like, no.
You
Yeah,
can't do that.
you have to know the writer, right? I
Yep.
knew writers with all kinds of styles and all different, like somebody want me to write something that's not in my wheelhouse. I would say, well, yeah, but so and so is really good at that. I had technical writer friends, and then it just dried up. Like now, like one of the most best known writers took a job as was it you that told me? No, it wasn't you. Julie told me that she took a VP of marketing maybe job at a big company. I knew she was looking for a full-time job, which is very unusual for a freelance writer who's very well known, who charged way more than most freelance writers ever did. To be looking for a full-time job is unusual. And she did. She landed a VP job.
Good for
And
her.
so she took a VP job. But normally people who love to freelance don't want a job.
Mm-hmm.
So
I miss examiner.com. That was, I mean, it didn't pay as much as the others, but what was nice is you could go write 3 articles in one day. And then it was
yeah,
almost, it's like $150 per article. And then they were shorter articles, but it was just easy to go write 3 quick articles for Examiner. And
right.
man, when that
Well,
switched over, that's a
part of
bummer.
the reason that kind of stuff declined is that what publishers could make from advertising has declined.
Mm-hmm.
And we can blame our buddy G for that because they keep reducing the mysterious way they calculate how much you get paid per click on an
Yep.
ad.
Yep.
And so even though if you're buying ads, the price keeps going through the roof, if you're getting paid for showing ads, the price keeps going down. And so it became difficult for publishers. In fact, I saw that Business Insider announced they're laying off 10% or something.
Really?
That one surprised me because Business Insider is extremely high quality, generally. It's considered, I don't read it that often, but it's considered the top high quality, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but
Better than the other well known big ones, right?
Right.
Business Insider's been mixed up in let's call it a dispute online. And one of the big benefactors of Harvard during with their president Gay and her alleged plagiarizing and all that. And Business Insider went after one of the benefactors of Harvard, and he just unloaded on them. And their business took a serious dive after that. So,
oh really?
Any number of things. It's kind of like Deadspin. I mean, Deadspin was, they misrepresented that young boy at the Chiefs game, saying that he was wearing blackface when he had black and red, which are the Chiefs' colors, on each half of his face. And they got in all kind of trouble for that. Then they had to sell their company. And what was it? Friday, they announced everybody at Deadspin's been laid off. The company that bought it is taking their assets and leaving the people.
Oh my. Over one incident?
And this is where?
Deadspin.
Well,
Wow.
see, that's the thing. When people decided that the best plan was to publish a whole bunch of stuff really fast, it's really hard to do fact checking and accuracy fast,
Mhm.
right? The faster you try to get it out there, the more likely you are going to publish something you're going to regret you published. And then the more they want to use AI, the more, and that's what's going on now, right? There's people that brag that they fired all their writers and they're just using AI. Well, who's running the AI, right? And are they aware that AI plagiarizes and makes stuff up, right? And so I like that there are some places that still want not AI. Like they're okay
Mhm.
if you use AI to create a table of contents for your content or do some research or do some SEO keyword research, that kind of stuff. But there are thankfully still publications that want content written by someone who actually knows what they're writing about
Oh, I agree. I
and
just had a.
doesn't, you know,
Go ahead.
no, I was just saying, doesn't just spit stuff out of an AI and publish it.
I had to do an abstract for a conference coming up, and one of the things I had to swear to was that in the generation of all the details for my abstract, I had not used AI.
You
And
had to
they
actually
said,
swear to it that you hadn't.
and, well, certify, whatever you call it.
Oh,
I had to
right,
sign off
right.
on it. And they said, and when it comes time for your slides for your presentation, assuming you're accepted, we will not accept those if they're generated by AI. Now, again, as
Huh.
you just said, how are you going to know necessarily? But in some cases, you can. I've played with it a little bit, only the 3.0 version. I haven't gone to the paid version. And I don't find it that useful.
No, you can tell if it's not edited, you can definitely tell. But a problem
Mhm.
that we're having though is that there are these, what do you call those, plagiarism checkers, right? That supposedly can tell if it's AI or not. Well, like I know there are writers I know that I believe, right? I've known them a long time and they would not lie about this. If they use AI, they'd say they did,
Mhm.
right? And they'll say they ran it through three different plagiarism checkers, and one says it's 100% AI, one says it's 0% AI, one says something in the middle, and none of it was AI, right? And so if you write something from scratch and a plagiarism checker says it's 20% plagiarized, or an AI checker says it's 100% AI, how are you going to prove it
No,
isn't,
you
right?
can't at that
Okay.
point. It's regurgitated. Not that it's regurgitated, but now it's getting all muddled.
Right. And some of these tools, they're not very good. Like
Mhm.
there are phrases that are very common in the English
Mhm.
language. And even though you're writing it, like having, even if you didn't even quote anybody, you're just writing it, the way that we say certain things tends to be very commonly the same,
Exactly.
right? And
Exactly.
so a plagiarism checker is going to claim that content is some percent plagiarized, even when it's not.
Exactly. And like
It's
if you're going
just
to use a keyword phrase and then you add, like you said, Gail, another phrase that's just common phrase that you use now, right there, you're going to have like a third of the article is going to be look like it's plagiarized because you've got keyword phrases in addition to phrases that
Yeah,
you
I
use in
mean
English.
there are phrases as common as "once upon a time"
Yep.
that are used. You know, they're everywhere, right? And then
Hmm.
there are trends that need to be squashed. I wonder if that's still going on. The thing that drove me crazy was every piece of content starting with "nowadays" or "in this day and age." Neither of those phrases should exist in content ever. I don't care what you're doing in marketing or content production or whatever you're doing. Do not put "nowadays" or "in this day and age" or whatever other baloney phrase in a sentence,
Sentence.
especially in the first paragraph of what you're writing.
I was
It
looking
is
up something
terrible.
the other day, and I don't even remember what I was looking up, but it was something I really wanted to know. So I found this article. I thought, oh, good, it's going to answer this question. Honestly, I can't remember what the question was. So I'm reading this article, and it said, and we're going to learn this, and we're going to learn this, and I'm getting excited because it's like, great, we're going to learn this, we're going to learn this. And I read. I don't usually read. I usually skim, right? So I kept reading and kept reading. It's like, oh, we're going to learn this, we're going to learn this, and I keep waiting, and pretty soon I'm done with the article. It's like, but when did we get to the point where were learning it, because it just kept saying, we're going to learn this. And I thought, and it had something to do with learning something about AI or how AI is used. I think that was the question. It was AI for something. That this is an AI written article about what AI is going to help us do, but you never actually got to the point of what AI is going to help us do, because the whole thing was written by AI. It never
That's
got
how you
anywhere.
know. That is how you know. Like, that's how I know. If you
Yep.
know a
Yep.
topic already and you're reading a piece of content and it either says something that's totally wrong or it says, like, it doesn't even make any sense what it's
Yep.
saying.
Yep.
Like, it's not even English, you know that somebody spit that out of AI, probably someone who couldn't speak English.
It was
It
well
is,
written, but it was like ad copy as far as, hey, this is what you're going to learn. This is what you're going to learn. But it never got to the point, because it would
yeah,
have been
probably
great as
copied
an ad.
that.
Exactly. It'd be great
Yeah,
as copy, but not.
yeah. It probably got that part out of a promotional something that was selling something. And since it was selling the substance, it couldn't find the substance to answer the actual question.
Exactly. Just like I got an email the other day, and I think it was a non-English speaking person who got the copy from something, and it was well written by the time she was done, but it actually didn't. Well, anyway, the email said, I was looking at your site, and I think, well, it went on and on. I thought, you didn't look at my site, because she used socialcafe.net. Both of you know what socialcafe.net is. It's a
Right.
redirect that goes to school.com.
Yeah.
I thought, and I responded, and I told her, honey, you didn't, don't lie to me. And not to call you a liar, but you didn't look at that site, because that site does not exist. It's a redirect that goes straight over here. So please don't send me emails saying you looked at the site and you found this on the site, because it doesn't exist.
There's a lot of those everywhere.
How many times a week do you get the one, just following up from my earlier email?
Oh,
I
those.
tracked those. There was no earlier
I
email.
hate
Oh,
liars. I
yes.
don't like liars. Now, it
Oh.
is possible that there was an earlier email and their ISP or your ISP deleted it, but a lot of times they're just blatantly lying.
I search. I search, and it's like.
But I'm saying,
nope.
even if you search, though, okay, so I had a friend that had a laptop and she was getting a new laptop. And I guess she wasn't technical enough to know how to take the emails off her existing laptop and put them on the new one. So what she did is she forwarded all the emails to her new laptop. And about 20% didn't ever get there. And some of them took weeks to show up. And so what people don't know, and this has been true from the very beginning, and you probably know this, Deborah, that ISPs run programs that try to get rid of spam. And so they filter out some percent of email. Like, so even though you sent the email, it may not have even got out of your ISP.
Well,
And
if you're
then it might
sending
have
all
got to
those,
the other ISP and it didn't get sent and it didn't get received. It got deleted right when it showed up. So
yeah, if you're doing what your friend did, yeah, it's going to block some of those, because the ISP is going to look at it and go, what this massive amount of emails coming from this one person. Yeah, we're going to block it.
Yeah. So
Well, I
yeah,
hate to
but
cut
they
off-
do block some. That's what I'm saying is email is not like, that's why I like Skype. If I send you a message on Skype and you don't respond, I'm going to follow up. If I email you and I don't remember that you didn't follow up, I don't know if you got it, you didn't get it, right? And it's really important. And a lot of times I'll have people on Skype and email, and they'll say, please send me X by email, and I'll send it, and they'll go, hey, were you going to send me that thing? I sent it right after you asked for it. They still don't have it, right? Maybe they'll get it. Maybe they won't. Maybe I'll resend it. People need to understand, especially people in marketing, need to understand that all emails do not land. And some land, but then they just get overlooked in the sea of spam that most people get. Unless they use Gmail, and Gmail just delivers what they feel like delivering.
To whichever
Right.
folder they want to deliver to. I hate to cut
Yes.
this off, but we're about at time. And
Yes, we
along
are.
those same lines, Gail, you owe me a response to a DM I sent you. Trusting
Oh,
that you got it, of course.
A DM where?
on X.
On X, Twitter. Ah, I see it now, and I hadn't opened it, but I just opened it. I will answer as soon as we
It was
get
just
that.
an ideal time to tease you about it.
That
But
was
I figured
great.
figured that
Yeah.
Deborah wanted to wrap up now, and
Well,
Yep.
I kind of tuned out. Twitter is not as functional as it used to be, and I don't like. I used to use Twitter all the time. It was my number one social platform, and Elon and his charging $42,000 a month for the API kind of made X less useful to me. I still look at it, but I don't like. This is the thing people don't get. Like, if you want to get me live, send me a Skype message. You'll probably get me. But if you email me, good luck. If you DM me on Twitter, probably going to see it eventually 24 to 48 hours. Same thing with LinkedIn. Probably I'll see it, except both of those now. I'm getting so many people cold calling on X DMs and LinkedIn DMs that's become like you kind of start tuning out when, oh, you got 5 new messages and 5 of them are trying to sell you something and you don't know who they are and the messages don't make sense, or they all want to ask personal questions that's none of their business, right? So I just don't use it as well as I used to. Like I used to see
Sounds
for a long time I never saw Twitter DMs because they were massive auto DM everywhere. And then it got better and I was using it really consistently and now it's got worse again.
so Gail, do you want to tell us about a chat tomorrow?
Yeah, I probably should. Now, where did I put it? I actually opened it so I could tell everybody and I tweeted it earlier. And there it is. Tomorrow is Embracing Failure as a Stepping Stone. How to Fail Forward.
I
It's
like
a good
that.
book by John Maxwell.
Yes.
Failing
it.
Forward.
Yeah, it says How to Fail Forward, Learning from Setbacks in Entrepreneurship.
And
And
with
so everyone can come and everyone's invited. You do have to join, but it is free to join. And it goes through Soho. So if it asks about Soho, that's okay. And the information is at blog.bizsugar.com/tip talk.
and also along the same lines, free to join Social Cafe, and I mirror the information on the calendar, so you can also click there and go to the same
Right.
place. So
And that's
I love it.
socialcafe.net.
.net. Yes, thank you
Yes.
for catching me. All right, and thank you guys for watching us, whether that's live or in the recording, and we'll see you same place next week, same time. Thank you.
Bye now.
Bye.